Hey, everybody. My name is Pat Flynn, podcaster of over 15 years now. I'm excited to teach you how to get started because today, now more than ever, podcasting is a smart strategy for showing up online, building your business, and building an audience and a loyal following. So, we are here today to talk about all those things and more because it's not easy, but we're going to make it as easy as possible for you. So, again, very excited about this. Thank you so much. Let me know in the chat if you could hear and see me okay. And if you're watching the replay, don't worry, we're not going to linger too long. We're going to get right into it. In fact, why don't we start right now with some questions? Again, today is podcasting the smart way, how to start a thriving podcast that grows your brand. It is April 2025. We are 30% through 2025 already. So now's the time to get started. If you've been meaning to, we're going to make it easy for you, like I said. So I have a couple questions for you. Number one, do you listen to podcasts? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat if you do. These questions are going to be super simple. This will be a very interactive session. I've been listening to podcasts for a very long time. And in the beginning, they really changed my life. This is exactly why I wanted to start a podcast of my own. 53% of the population is listening to podcasts right now. If you ask around, more than half are actually listening and actively listening, which is really cool. Here's the second question. How many podcasts are you subscribed to? Now, I'm interested to see your answers. I'm going to shout some of you out in here. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but when I first started listening to podcasts, I think I was subscribed to 30 to 40 different shows. I wanted to subscribe to all of it. And it's just amazing how many people subscribe to many different shows. And the reason why I wanted to share this number with you, which is the average number of podcasts people are subscribed to, is because it doesn't mean that you're competing with other people. You're just competing for time, right? But you don't have to feel like that you have to replace somebody else's podcast in order to get a person's attention. You need to create something interesting, something different. You're going to be another show they can subscribe to and hopefully one that they will listen to more because, like I said, most people are subscribed to about 7, and it looks like that average is pretty the same here, although many of us have been pruning, thankfully, and hopefully you're leaving yourself some time to take action. All right, another question. When you are listening to podcasts, how long are you listening for? This is the big differentiator between podcasting specifically and other types of media or content. Because the truth is that when it comes to blogging and YouTube and social media, I mean, the numbers are very, very different. So with blogs, which most people don't even read anymore, at least isn't not much as they used to, you might spend 5 to 10 minutes reading something and you're scanning through. On YouTube, 3 to 5 minutes. If you have 3 to 5 minutes of watch time as a YouTuber, you're actually doing pretty well on average. Of course, you want to tell some good stories, have people stay on for longer, but in general, 3 to 5 minutes is going to be pretty average. Social media, of course, less than a minute of a person's attention. On podcasts, and I already see it here, 30 minutes or more. I see Heather, full podcast, as Jean says, 30 to 45 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. No other content platforms gives you this amount of time in front of people. Yes, webinars like this where you know about it, you're signing up ahead of time. Sure, yes, we're on YouTube right now. But with audio podcasts, people are subscribed. They're listening to things over and over again. And it's quite amazing what can happen when you get that attention and hold it. Because like you probably, I listen to shows whenever they come out. And so if you can build that natural rhythm and cadence with somebody, I mean, you're going to build that trust. You're going to build that loyalty. And of course, if you have a business or something to share or sell, hopefully you don't just aggressively sell something on your show when you build it, but you build that loyalty and audience. People start asking you how they can get involved with what you have to offer. And that is an amazing thing. So just wanted to set the tone here because podcasting, this is why it works so well and why you don't need huge audiences in order for it to work. You just need a core audience. In fact, there's a student of ours in the SPI community. His name is Wojciech. He has the Fire Science podcast. Yes, there is a show just about fire science. Very, very niche audience, right? And he gets maybe 500 to 700 downloads per episode, but he's been able to make more than his day job as a result of connecting with certain sponsors who want to get in front of that audience and that loyal audience who continuously shows up. And that's so, so powerful when it comes to your podcast. So before we get started here with the meat of the content, again, I just wanted to set that up. Please reduce any distractions around you. Stay until the end. We're going to go for an hour, maybe a little bit longer if there are questions, but I got your back. Don't worry. 3 quick things. This is going to be fun and interactive. Number 2, you're going to learn a lot, and there's a Q&A session at the end. And finally, I'll let you know where you can get more info. We have courses, we have communities, and something special coming up with regards to learning more about podcasting that I want to share with you in just a moment. Now, I want you to answer this, and I'll relay for the replay viewers what the answers are. But I want you to tell me which number makes the most sense for you if you're watching the live chat right now. We have over 100 people watching, which is really cool. So, number one, are you here because you heard about this thing called podcasting and you're here to learn more about the opportunity? Number two, you know about podcasting, you know you need to do it, but you haven't gotten around to it yet. Number three, you've started podcasting, but you're just not getting the results that you want. Number four, you're a pro, and you could use a few more tips, which even if you're advanced and watching this right now, I have some stuff that will be useful and valuable for you. Or number five, it's cold outside. Or maybe it's warm. Swift came from SIOAOSIKAS. Nice. So no matter which number you are, especially if you're a beginner, you're going to get a lot of value out of this because I want to make sure you know that this is going to help you start fast. Marie says, you know about podcasting, know you need to do it. A lot of number twos coming in, number threes as well. So great. You didn't just hear about podcasting. You know you need to do it. You just need those first steps, which is great. So in order to kind of set the tone here, I want you to have the best mindset going in to this world of podcasting. And I want to have you imagine that you're speaking in front of a group of people in person, right? Forget about podcasting right now. You are on stage speaking in front of a group of people, right? Doing a presentation, maybe in a classroom or some little board meeting or something like that. Just a few people, right? This is maybe about 20 to 30 people in this room. That's very powerful what you can do in a room like this. And that's only 20 to 30 people. But when you podcast, it's essentially the same thing. You are behind a microphone and you're speaking to a group of people, just not in person, but across the entire world. And this is a room of maybe about 100 people. And let's get to a room of about 1,000. This is 1,000 people who just happen to be in a room watching me on a stage right there. Yes, that's little old me over there. And this is what 1,000 people looks like. Now, I started a podcast a while ago. This was back in 2012 called the Food Trucker Podcast. This is fun lore for some of you who might not know. But this was a podcast that was started to help people in the food truck industry. Was I a food truck owner? No, but I was definitely interested in it. I ate at a lot of food trucks, and I was just curious, what would it take to actually start a food truck of my own? So I started a podcast to educate myself and others, and we got about 900 downloads per episode, which is about the size of that giant room that you saw me speaking in. That's a load of people. There are so many things that you can do with just that many people. And I wanted to kind of share this real quick up front here because a lot of us go into podcasting thinking, again, we need millions of people. We hear those stories, and it's incredible. But you can do really, really amazing things in the small niche that you're in with just a few hundred people listening. And I know that there are some podcasters here who have that many people watching their stuff already and have built incredible relationships with their audience and other partners and other collaborators in that space, which is really, really amazing. Just to show you some stats here, you can see that every episode, every month got about, it looks like every month got about 3,500 downloads for a food truck podcast, simply by asking the right questions, bringing food truck owners on to talk about their experience. It was really, really fun. And I ended up selling this company, Food Trucker, in 2020. The podcast went along with it, so I don't have it anymore. I don't think they're still running the podcast, which is a shame, but it was definitely a treat and a lot of fun to do. Now I have the Smart Passive Income podcast, which is awesome, or the SPI podcast. And many of you listen to this. I know this is how some of you found me. Many people have found me through the show. And it has nearly 860 episodes at this point, which is really amazing. And I've been running it since 2010, which is really cool. Now, although you can see these large numbers, and it is, awesome, I'm speaking in front of an audience of 100,000 every single week, the reality is, to the listener, it's just you and them. And that's the coolest part about all this. You can reach a lot of people. And I once heard that podcasting is the best way to scale intimacy. It's just you and them. In this little earbud, in this magical moment. This is what I call the magical moment. When a person puts their earbuds in after hitting play on an episode of yours, and then they go on that run, or they go on that drive, or they are working out at the gym, or go on that walk with their dog, whatever that is, that magic moment, when they plug you in, you got them in their pocket, and they're just listening to you, again, for 30 minutes to an hour. It is so incredibly powerful. So what about you? The show that you are thinking about creating. Tell me what you know about it already. Maybe you have a title for it. Maybe you already have a podcast. Maybe you are just about to get started. What might the name of it be? And again, we have some stuff to show you about like properly naming your show and creating a description and stuff, which is all in the course. But we're going over the higher level things today to get you started and get you excited about it. So tell me a little bit more about what your podcast might be about. I know there's some Pokemon people in here. I know there's some people for health and wellness in here. There's some medical as well. You could create a podcast about anything. There are podcasts about wooden boats. It's pretty incredible what you can do and who you can reach. So here's what we're going to talk about today specifically. We're going to talk about the only piece of equipment that you need to sound like a pro. We're going to talk about how to know what to podcast about so you don't waste your time, which is important. We don't want to waste your time. Specific strategies that I use to conduct the best podcast interviews and stand out of the crowd. Now, this begs the question, Pat, do I have to have guests on the show? No, you don't have to. You can have a solo show, and that builds a lot of authority, which is great. But having guests on does two things. Number one, it helps you tap into other people's experiences, stories, and expertise. Yes, and that's important for your audience. But number two, it helps you build relationships with other people in your industry. And that skill is really, really important. So there's no perfect formula. It's not necessarily 50-50, 50% interview, 50% solo show. It's not 100-0. It could be whatever you want it to be. Maybe it's mostly solo with guests sometimes or vice versa. I've seen it work all kinds of ways. So I just wanted to bring that up front really quick here for you. The number one element all episodes need to start with, or else you might lose your listeners for good: how to get heard, which is a big one, right? We're not just talking about how to start a podcast, but how to make sure you get heard on day one when you launch your show. And I'm reading all these incredible show ideas here in the podcasting space that are going to be coming up here in the chat. Mom stories, love it. You'll see an example of that in just a moment, actually, of somebody else in Australia who's doing that very successfully. Podcast about Pokemon, no title yet. We have conversations with coffee, business, specifically in franchise. I like that niche. Franchising is huge. Definitely connect with Entrepreneur Magazine. They come out with a issue, I think, once a quarter about franchising, and you can reach out to those people too, which is pretty cool. Anyway, let's keep going here because we are going to talk about a lot today. Secrets about the Apple Podcast algorithm so you know how to rank and get some more exposure. My number one ninja podcast growth hack. My absolute favorite way to grow, and it's still working today, and sadly, not a lot of people are using it even after I teach it. So hopefully you'll be different. And finally, some monetization tactics on how to generate revenue beyond just advertising and sponsorships, which is, of course, a very popular way to do it, but very hard if you're just starting out. So my goal here today is to teach you my best info and hopefully get you excited and on your way. And if you need some more help, I got your back, and we have some ways to get you even more involved and get your results quicker. So let's start with some myths, though, because if I don't help you figure out that stuff that's going on in your brain about this, I mean, there's a reason why you haven't started yet, then I could tell you all the best strategies in the world. None of it's going to work. We need to talk about what's going on in your mind. So here's some myths that we're going to bust. Myth number one: it's often said that you have to be a natural-born speaker or storyteller or interviewer in order for this to work. The truth is, and I know this from personal experience, that is not true. Here is me in December of 2008. I'm going to play an audio file for you. This is going to be really cringe, by the way. This is the very first audio file that I recorded. It never hit public light because I was too embarrassed, but this is how I sounded. You hear my tone and intonation and rhythm now. This is how I sounded back in 2008 when I bought my microphone. This was my first microphone that I bought. I was living in my parents' bedroom or my parents' house in my old childhood bedroom because I had just gotten laid off. And here is this cringy audio file just for 30 seconds. Here it is. I don't know why I played rock music.
Hey everybody, this is Pat from the Smart Passive Income blog. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this. I think that's so awesome that you guys are helping me out figure out all this new podcasting stuff. I'm actually just bought a whole bunch of podcasting equipment for myself because I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I figured, hey, why not do one? So, really, I really don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, so I just wanted to get familiar with all the equipment that I have right now and what it's like to post something online and hear what people think about it. So, you tell me, should I give up on podcasting now because my voice sucks so bad, or, should I talk a little deeper, or I really have no idea. So,
what am I doing?
Again, just thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. Keep coming back to the website. I got tons of information coming up in the near future. And let's make 2009 a great year for all of us. Let's make it the most profitable year we've ever had. And I'll try my best to help you get there. So again, good luck with everything. Happy holidays. And this is Pat Flynn from the Smart Passive Income blog signing off. Peace.
Okay. So that was that. The audio quality is good because I bought all the right equipment, but you could tell in my voice I sounded very timid. I sounded very scared and nervous. And even just the things I was saying, I was already talking about giving up before I had even started. This is just very common at the start. And I wanted to share that with you. I'm really glad I captured that so I could share it and let you know that we all start from zero. We all start from the beginning. And as long as you stay consistent and you count uploads, not likes, as my good friend Alex Can't Catch Him says, you'll be good. You just got to stay consistent. And that's really important, especially in the podcasting space. You need to build that rhythm because if you think about it from an audience's perspective, if your audience is not feeling like confident in you continually showing up for them, even though you might be timid, which I was at the start, how could they build trust with you, right? Which is the most important thing. That's why podcasting is so great, though. They hear your voice. It's not just like text. They're hearing your voice. They're hearing the realness, the rawness of what you have to say in that moment. And it's so powerful for making that connection, right? Now, my first episode, this is when I bought this equipment, right? December 2008. My first episode came out July 2010. So much later because I was too scared. And I just want to encourage you to get started. You have to be cringe before they binge. Trust me, you have to be cringe before they binge. Since then, several different podcasts have come out. I've recorded over 1,000 podcast episodes. I've spoken and keynoted at Podcast Movement. This was my son and I. Yes, we are in matching outfits. The podcast has allowed me to connect with people like Gary Vaynerchuk. I recently had an interview with Seth Godin, which was amazing. And it has accounted for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, indirectly and directly over time. This is one single month in July of 2017 that I will share with you how the podcast contributed to this income in this single month back then. It's also led to a lot of fan mail. People connect with you when they hear your voice and you continually show up for them. And those people will show up for you as well. Community is everything, and I've extended that into now the Pokemon community, as many of you know, through my channel Deep Pocket Monster. But these are all people who showed up because they once heard my voice. And that can happen to you even if you're not a pro storyteller, because you can become that so long as you hit publish. All right, next, we have podcasting myth number 2. You have to podcast in a big niche to succeed. This is not true. I've already told you about Wojcik, the fire science show guy who's making nearly 6 figures a year with a fire science podcast with only $500 to $700 per episode. Here's another example. This is Phil from Scanner School. It's a podcast literally about handheld radios and those little aviation and emergency line scanners and stuff. I mean, he's just a super nerd, and he's one of our students, and he has gotten incredible feedback. In fact, this is him a couple years back talking about how he now has fans who show up at every live stream that he does because he's been showing up on his podcast, and he's got followers. He's only 24 episodes in at this point, 6 months in, and he's got super fans of his own, which is really amazing. Podcasting myth number 3, you have to have an audience already. No, that's not true. In fact, having a podcast is what can allow you to build that audience. And that, again, core loyal audience. Yes, there is more reach on YouTube, and we'll talk about video podcasting a little bit later. There is a brand new module in our course, Power Up Podcasting, that's all about video podcasting, and YouTube is huge, of course. But with audio podcasts, there's less competition. You can get in front of people and really build that deep, loyal relationship and that audience from scratch, which many people have done. Case in point, this is Sophie Walker. Sophie Walker, she is a woman out of Australia who has a podcast called Australian Birth Stories, and she started from scratch. Look at her here, 50,000 downloads. She started from scratch, no website or business behind her. And what's really amazing about this story is she had become the #1 podcast in certain categories in Australia. And even better than that, she's also she's written books. She's gotten to the point now where certain organizations, health organizations in Australia, require their employees to listen to her show. It's been incredible what she's done. She's gone full time with it. And it started just like you watching one of these videos, which is awesome. So podcasting myth number 4, I only got 2 more for you. You can't make money until you get big listenership. Not true. Already dispelled that. But I will say that there are multiple other ways to generate revenue, which we're going to talk about, like affiliate marketing and selling your own stuff. Again, through the power of podcasting. So no, you don't need a huge audience, but you need an audience, and you need to have that audience understand who you are and why they can trust you, right? And again, the storytelling and other things that you can do when you show up on a show like this is amazing. And then myth number 5, podcasting is easy. This is a big myth. It's not hard, though. We're trying to simplify, but I don't want you to feel like you can just tomorrow start your show and start making money. There's a process here. It takes some time. We're going to shorten that time for you, but we want to show up and have it be a lot easier for you. We got Funk Roberts in the house. We got Mystic. So we got some big people in the audience right now, but we also have some people who will become big as a result of this right here. So if you're ready to get started, let me see an emoji in the chat. If you're watching the replay, we're about to dive in to a lot of the more technical things now. And again, I'm going to try to simplify this for you because you could go all out on this. You could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on equipment. You could go to audio engineering school and all those kinds of things. You could have a coach come over to your house and teach you how to do this, set everything up for you. You don't need to spend that kind of money. You just need to spend a little bit on some good equipment, and it's mostly just you showing up. So spending some time to really overcome those fears is going to be the biggest thing. So let's go. Let's dive in. Thank you. So how to sound like a pro. This is podcasting. And even if you're doing a video podcast, your audio is more important. When you think about it, you could watch a video that's not the best quality as long as it has good audio, right? But could you watch a video that has really good video quality but has terrible audio quality that you can barely hear? It's indistinguishable? No. You need good audio. Audio is the most important thing. So, of course, the most important piece of equipment is going to be your microphone. And this microphone right here, or any one of these, can be great to start out with. These all plug in via USB. You have the Audio Technica. You have the Samson Q2U, which is probably the go-to. That runs about $55 to $60 on Amazon, and it'll sound just as good as the Samson here. The Samson, Shure SM7B. This is the Joe Rogan microphone that a lot of podcasters have that you see on camera. But the Samson Q2U in the middle there is great. Most of my students use it, and it sounds fantastic to most ears, especially after things are compressed in MP3 format. So we're good there. So that's it. That's really the only equipment you need. Yes, you can get boxes and other things, and I do have boxes and other things that you need to plug in these kinds of microphones too, but you don't need to spend that to start out. Just get a good microphone, Samson Q2U, plug that in via USB, you're good to go. That's literally all you need, or maybe just a foam ball to go on top of it, or a little windscreen. Something like that can be maybe the second piece of equipment that you need, but that's about it. Now you need some software, right? Software to record. You don't need to spend money on this either. Yes, there's Adobe Audition and there's some other ones like that, but GarageBand. I recorded my podcast on GarageBand for the first 4 years, and it was just fine. Audacity is a PC or Windows-friendly version, but there's also a Mac version of Audacity too if you're not a GarageBand fan. But that's all you need. You just need to know how to slice and dice, remove some mistakes, and kind of put drag and drop music in. It's pretty simple, actually, when it comes down to it. And again, all the how-tos are on YouTube and in the course too, if you want. And some of my YouTube videos about editing your podcast are, in fact, some of the most viewed videos that I have. So you can check those out in some tutorials there. Now, what if you want to do an interview show? You're going to need another piece of software for that. Yes, you can use Zoom. Zoom can work. I'm using Ecamm Live right now to stream this. You can record audio interviews and video interviews on that platform as well, Ecamm Live. Or you could use something like Riverside or Squadcast, which are literally built for remote podcast interviews, or even Descript has that built into with its little rooms, which is really neat. So again, we're removing as much of the friction as possible for you to just get started. But of course, having the right equipment is just part of the solution. We also need to create compelling content. So we're going to move into now, well, what do you talk about? How do you show up on the microphone in your best way? So let's dive into this. Podcast about what's already proven. So you might already have some stuff elsewhere that shows what your audience that you might already have is interested in. For example, you might have a website or a blog or even some social streams with some analytics. I know a lot of people, for example, I think it's Alex Hermosi, uses X to test different thoughts and different ideas. And the ones that go bigger, he turns them into much larger video and podcast interviews or episodes. And that's really smart because he can pressure test. He can actually micro test those things first before he then talks about them more deeply on a podcast. So use stuff that you can prove elsewhere on your show to talk deeper. And that way you can actually go back to those things on your website, on your YouTube channel, on your socials and say, hey, I go deeper into this topic here. Go listen to it, right? So that can work really well. Next, what's popular on other podcasts? So you can actually explore other podcasts and see what's popular both on video and audio format to see what you could talk about. And not just, of course, rip those off, not just, of course, say the same things, but add your own flavor into it. Maybe take an opposing view. Maybe add more research on top of it. These are things that, again, are taken from things that are already proven that you can then put your own voice on top of. Questions, of course, that people are asking you. Definitely ask questions on social, and you can bring those into podcasting and go and talk more deeply about them. Stories. Podcasting is truly meant for storytelling. This is the number one thing that podcasting is perfect for. You can go deeper. You can spend a little bit more time. You can practice your storytelling. Storytelling will become, if not already is, the number one skill you need to know just as a human being, not just as a podcaster, but no matter what you're doing, learning how to tell story, hold attention, this is the way to succeed in the future. And that is such a general statement, but I will stand by it. Storytelling is going to be the number one thing that you're going to need to know how to do. And guess what? A podcast is a perfect platform to practice this. This is how I've gotten better at it, because I show up every single week and I tell stories, big stories, small stories, funny stories, sad stories. I tell personal stories. I tell other people's stories. This is the way to capture attention, hold attention, build trust. And of course, interviews with guests. So let's dive into some strategies and tips for interviewing, which I hope and I want to encourage you to do. I know some of you, like Gonzo in the chat right now, do this already. So how can we make our interviews even better? Number one, the interview starts before it happens. So before you hit record, you want to make sure that the person that you are interviewing knows what they're getting into, feels comfortable, right? If they are shielded or guarded at any moment, you're not going to have the best conversation. You're going to get these surface level answers, right? We don't want that. We want gold that is deeper, and that takes you digging a little bit deeper and opening that person up a little bit. So in the email exchanges, in how you start before you hit record, my big secret is when I get on, like, say that you and I are doing an interview together. If you just show up and I go, hey, we're already recording, I mean, that's scary. Versus, hey, we're not recording yet. Just really quick, how was your day? I hope everything's cool. Do you have any questions about the podcast? By the way, I just had this amazing lunch a second ago. So if I burp, I apologize. I'm just kind of loosening up a bit. I don't say the burp thing every time, but the one thing I do say is like, hey, this is just a conversation between you and I, as if we're in a coffee shop. So let's just have fun, because I'm curious about how you do what you do. Boom. You can immediately see their shoulders go down. They start to open up a little bit, and that sets the tone for the rest of the show. Make the other person feel comfortable. Like I said, try to ask open-ended questions. I'm going to reveal and be a little vulnerable here. The very first interview I ever did never hit the light of day because I only asked non-open-ended questions. I asked questions like, what's your favorite food? I literally asked that. I remember the guest. His name is Yaro Stark. I asked him what his favorite food was. I asked him what his favorite color was. He said blue spaghetti. And then I tried to be funny and said, well, have you ever had blue spaghetti? It was just it was bad. It was bad. But you learn as you go, and hopefully this helps you fast forward to your success. But open-ended questions like, why? Why is the number one question that you can ask. I think as kids, we ask why because we're curious, right? Well, you have to be genuinely curious as a podcaster. That is your strategy. Be genuinely curious. Ask why. If you get an answer and you're not quite sure, or you want to dig a little bit deeper, just go why, right? We lose that as adults because it's not okay to just be like, why? We tell our kids to stop saying that. But as a podcaster, you need to show up and say why. And again, be very genuinely curious. A lot of people go, well, should I ask my questions? Should I write out my questions ahead of time? No. I like to know where I want things to go, but the questions I want to be in real time. I want to ask questions because, again, I'm genuinely curious. I used to worry so much about what I was going to say next that I wouldn't even listen to what the person was answering from the previous question I asked. And it was just such a dry show when it was like that versus let's just go deeper. Can you expand on that? Because I wouldn't have acted that way. Why did you do it that way? That's really smart, right? Go deeper. Huge. And then hunt for the story. Yes. So hunting for the story is going to be key. I learned this from, Ira Glass, I think it was. So there is a thing that you could say to prompt your guest to tell a story. Again, we want stories. Stories are where things become relatable. It's where things become more memorable, right? Not facts. It's the stories and the way that those facts are shared, how those things unfolded. So a great way to do this is just simply go, tell me about a time when blank, right? So, hey, Vert, tell me about a time when you were scammed. Hey, Gonzo, tell me about a time when you regretted something. Oh, and you just sit back and listen. I mean, it doesn't always have to be like, you know, like that. It doesn't have to be negative. Like, tell me about a time when you were actually surprised when you walked into a store once, or tell me about a good customer experience that you've had before, right? Tell me about a time when blank. That is such a smart thing to ask. So I hope that all of you who are podcasters will start using that. It's such an easy thing to do, right? And you can use that as a way to guide people into where you want to go, right? You don't just say, tell me a story. You say, tell me about a time when blank, or tell me a story about blank. So huge. All right. Very important, especially if you're on YouTube, but even now more than ever on audio as well. You need to start every episode with a hook. A hook. A hook is a way for you to offer to those who are thinking about staying a reason why they need to stay, right? If a person, and today we're all so distracted, we all are so selfish as consumers, we want to know what's in it for us. So as creators, we need to we literally need to spell it out for people why this matters. You can do that in a few different ways, right? You could maybe bring something in from the middle of the episode that is intense or interesting, right? When I create YouTube videos about Pokemon, it usually starts with some intense trade, and then I go into the explanation. The trade hooks people. What's going on here? Why is he doing this? Is he going to make money? Is he going to lose money? What what's going on? And then I explain it. If I started explaining it at first, then people would already be making an exit, right? So starting with a hook. For an audio interview, perhaps even starting with, today my guest is somebody who you would have never expected to see on the show before because he has the most controversial views compared to what I think. But we're going to have a conversation today, a friendly one, I hope. And stick around because you're going to see the fireworks that happen. In fact, here's a small preview. Oh my God, I hate your guts. Bruh. You're going to listen all the way through, right? You're going to listen all the way through because I've just set up something that makes you go, what happened next? Right? This is storytelling. This is a big problem that I see a lot of amazing creators have, is you don't think about how you're going to start the thing. Right? Cool. So shout outs, excuse me. I read Gonza's comment. So hooks, very, very important. All right. So now getting heard. If you are doing an audio podcast, I want to let you know how to get heard even on day one. This is a big mistake that I made. I did not do what I'm about to teach you because, and this is again how I know that this is not the way to do it. It's one thing to just create. It's another thing to be found and get heard, and I want you to get heard. So when you come out with your podcast, this is for those of you who are just starting out, although if you already had a show, I got something for you right after this. I want you to launch your podcast like it's an event. Launch your podcast like it is an event. And what does that mean? Well, you want to do it because it is an event. If you just go, oh, yeah, I have a new show, cool, then nobody's going to come, right? Imagine if you were a musician and you just had this beautiful song created and you want to share it with the world at some venue, right? Would you just show up to the venue and not let anybody know about it? Of course not. That'd be stupid. You would sell tickets. You would go put flyers at Starbucks in the local area. You would tell your friends about it. You get on social and let people know that this thing is coming, right? And you want to launch it like an event. So that's really key, right? There's a date when the first episode is going to be available. There is a party. Let's have some fun and let's talk about it. There's special guests that are coming, whatever. Get the venue ready, which means just get your episode up, tease what's coming, and then launch this darn thing. Let people know about it ahead of time. So that means you need to pick a date, and that's going to be really important for you to actually take the action required, because when that date's there, you're more likely to take that action. So launch like it is an event. But don't make the same mistake I did. So going back to this musician analogy, right? Imagine you're a musician. You get the venue ready. You pick a date. You sell out even, right? All your friends and family and people they know are going to be there to listen to your set, right? You do your sound check. You're nervous. You're excited. You get up. You perform your first song. And you're like, all right, guys, peace. Thank you for listening to my one song. And you're out. All that work to get people there, only to say peace out after that first song. For an audio podcast specifically, you have to launch with more than one episode. I didn't. And as a result, people were like, okay, cool. You gave me this introduction episode, but where's this cool stuff that you said was coming? It was there the next week. But I had worked so hard to get people there to listen to episode number 1, and I left them dry. Launch with 3 or more. I know some people who've launched with 5 to 10. I think that's too much. I think 3 is just fine, and you can have the rest in the can available for more continuation after that. But here's the thing, launching with 3, you have now 3 episodes. Let's say you're in the fitness space, right? You have an episode number 1, that's more of an introduction. Episode number 2 is about your fitness routine and like your gains and all that stuff. But episode number 3 is about your nutrition, which of course is also important, right? Some people might be really, really wanting to know about the nutrition stuff first. So they might actually listen to episode 3 first and then go back to 1 and 2, or 2-3-1, or 2-1-3, or 1-3-2, or 1-2-3, however it might be. But people are now able to binge listen to more stuff, excuse me, on day 1. Did I actually burp? Yes, I did. Part of the good thing about editing a podcast is you can remove those things. This is live right now. So anyway, this is real life. Launching with multiple episodes allows people to hear more of you and hear more of those call to actions to go to your website to subscribe or buy your product or check out your recommendation, whatever it might be. Launch with 3 episodes. Cool? Cool. Heather asks, do you have to have the person you're interviewing sign a release? Many podcasters do that just to kind of like waive any sort of liability, but in most cases, no. Now, I'm not a lawyer or an attorney, but in general, number one, if you have people agree to come on a show, especially if you have emails ahead of time and they agree to come on the show, that is an agreement. And number 2, if you are worried, you can just say at the beginning of the podcast, hey, my name is Pat. I'm about to interview so-and-so. If you agree to let me use this in a podcast and for future things, blah, 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 please say yes. Yes, cool. And you have that recording. You're good to go from there too. Cool. Awesome. So launch like that. Now, one cool thing about podcasting, even though it's pretty much audio and, of course, video, if you talk about audio or if you talk about a video podcast, podcasting is also pretty visual, but not as visual as YouTube, of course. But there is a very important thing that you need to know about when it comes to how you are found on Apple and Spotify and all those other platforms. Your artwork. Your artwork is going to be key. Here's some artwork from some students in our course, which is really cool. I love these, especially the ones with the bold. The new 30 podcast is so good. Stress Life podcast, much more toned down, but with a banana, which is great. Captures attention. These are all great. You just need to make sure, and all the specs, I'm not going to go over that right now, as far as like 3,000 by 3,000 pixels and all this stuff. Like, it's all pretty self-explanatory as you are setting this up. But just make sure that when you design it for a big square, that it also looks good on, of course, a person's mobile device, because that's where most people are listening to the show, on a little tiny screen. So you need to make sure that when it's scaled down, that it also reads well. And so a lot of stuff starts to disappear at that point if it's too cursive or it's too small. Stick with the big things. Make sure it captures attention. Faces are fine. They capture attention too, because people like to see faces, but it doesn't have to be a face, as you can tell. Cool. Here's the algorithm for Apple Podcasts. Well, a lot of us know the YouTube algorithm, right? Watch time is key, click-through rates, titles, thumbnails, all those things are important. If you're doing a video podcast, obviously that's still important. But with audio, and specifically on Apple Podcasts, it kind of works like this. So it is the number of subscribers plus downloads plus ratings and reviews within a short period of time. It's not a perfect calculation, as you can see. All this means is velocity. Having new subscribers, new downloads, and new ratings and reviews compacted into a short period of time is going to equal higher rankings. So this is how you are able to outrank higher podcasts that have a bazillion views and have been around for a while, because you are, again, hopefully creating an event around this launch of yours, and boom, you get that acceleration, right? This is why the campaigns that you make on day 1 are really, really key. You could shoot up in the rankings. Now, if you already have a podcast, like I said, how can you maximize efforts here if you've already launched your show? Well, in our course, we have something we like to call create a hit episode, a highly intentional and targeted episode. Hit episode, highly intentional and targeted. And if you already have a podcast, that just means you pick an upcoming show. So it might be a milestone show like episode 50 or episode 100 or episode 10 or whatever. It doesn't need to be a nice round number, but that's a good excuse for this. Or it could be an upcoming guest that is huge that's coming on your show. Or it could just be one that you pick that is a very important topic to you, where you go deeper into something or you tell a little bit more of a vulnerable story. Whatever it might be, you select that episode and you create an event around that episode. So it's as if you're relaunching, but just with episode 16, whatever it might be. You make a bigger deal out of it. And just that intentionality can bring a lot of these things on this algorithm to happen in a short period of time, more subscribers, more ratings, more reviews, and you can do really, really well and give you that boost, right? So we like to do this every like a couple times a year, especially at the end of the year. We have these like milestone episodes, these compilation episodes. Those do a really good job too. Cool. Cool. Chat, how we doing? Thumbs up. Give me a Diglett thumb up if you are good, and we're good to continue. Still got like 20 minutes left. We're going to get into the monetization section very soon. But I do want to share with you my number one ninja hack for growing a podcast. My number one growth hack. It is using forums and groups, everybody. Yes, forums and groups. Now, when you see this, or when I share this, most people go, Pat, you want me to go into different groups like Facebook groups and just be like, hey, look at me, look at my podcast. It's great. No, that's the last thing you want to do. Thank you for all the thumbs, by the way. You don't want to go into a group and just spam, because what happens when you do that? You get the cold shoulder. You get seen as spammy. You like, who are you? Social media is just like a big giant party, right? And a lot of people there know each other. So when you come in and you're like, hey, everybody, and you open your trench coat and you're like, hey, you want to buy these things? Or, hey, look at me, I got these great things. It's like kind of creepy. And like people aren't about that, right? You need to get to know these people first. However, there is a way to utilize groups and forums that will get you much bigger results without that creepiness. So here's how you do it. I'm just going to use this as an example. So let's say that you are in the knitting space, like you're into knitting, right? Crochet. Crochet is different than knitting, I found though. Let's say crochet, because my wife and daughter like to crochet. They crochet little Pokemon. It's pretty cute. Anyway, you have a crocheting podcast. How can you go into crocheting groups and not be banned? Well, here's what you do. You go into these groups, and first of all, you just join them and you have communication with them. But find out who the admins are. You can do that even without joining these groups. You can go into LinkedIn, you can go into Facebook, you can go into different forums and find out who the admins are. When you do this, you reach out to those admins. Maybe you find them on another social media platform and you reach out to them, or you know somebody who knows them. Reach out to them and say, hey, Janice, I would love to interview you for my podcast. In fact, it's going to be really easy. I just want your number one tip for any brand new crocheters. What would be your number one tip? Now, I would send them to a tool like Google Voice or even SpeakPipe. SpeakPipe is a tool that you can use to just send a link, and then they can just record their answer for you. Very simple. Again, that's SpeakPipe. So Janice records her answer, her number one tip, right? But I don't just get Janice's number one tip. I also get Randy's tip. And I get Donna's tip from another group. I get maybe 5 tips, maybe 10 from 10 different group owners. And I put them all into one episode. And I name the episode Top 10 Tips for Beginner Crocheters. I'm not giving the tips. These are literal audio files that I've collected from 10 different group owners. Chat, what are the chances that a group owner who likely has never gotten the opportunity to really shine before, what is the likelihood that when you feature them on your podcast that they are going to share this in that group on your behalf? What are the chances? The chances are extremely high. And I'm talking 95% hit rate. Why? Because you've made them look like a hero to their people. Because you've made it about them, not you. This is the secret to winning in any industry. A lot of you know in the industry that I'm in here, in the Pokemon space, the way to win is to serve. So using your podcast to be a platform for others to look good. Woo! Stuff works, bro. I'm not even kidding. This is a strategy that some of our students in Power Up Podcasting, they're using just this strategy alone, and they're killing it. Like 40, 50,000 downloads a month. But I need to nuance this just a little bit because you seem excited about this, which I like. You could invite that person on for a full-length interview, but I wouldn't do that. I made that mistake before, and some of these people who you're going to interview to get this single tip from, for example, are going to be pretty dry. They're not going to be good on interviews. They hardly do it. It's easy to get a tip from them, and even if they're terrible, it's just like a minute tip, and you can expand on that, right? Tip number 1, and then you come in, you fill in some holes. Tip number 2, you come in, you kind of add your own twist or double down on what they said. Tip number 3, that's what that episode is like, right? But maybe Donna's tip number 3 was amazing. And Donna had this energy, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love Donna. She's the crochet queen. I'm going to reach out to Donna again, and I'm going to say, Donna, your tip on that recent podcast episode we did, by the way, thank you, was amazing. People are responding to it. They love you. I think it would be amazing to have you come on the show for a full episode. Would you be down, Donna, to come in for this full episode? Again, they're already thankful because you've given them some love. Of course, they're going to say yes. You already know they have a good energy, so you've kind of filtered through that already. And what are the chances that they're going to, again, double down and submit that episode in front of that group? Boom. So, yeah, there you go. That is my number 1 ninja growth hack. Any groups, any forums, any communities, any discords, who are the owners or the admins there? And how can you make them look good? That is the secret. Cool? Cool. Use it, please. It's amazing. All right. Let's talk about monetization. So there are many ways to generate revenue from a podcast beyond just sponsors and advertising, right? You could do this. You can get new students for your customers, right? There are people who use YouTube for this. You can do this with an audio podcast as well. You build trust and you get new students. I'll share with you an example very shortly here, probably in the next 2 minutes, of how I used a podcast episode to generate more than 6 figures of sales for more students of my courses. So I'll share with you that in just a moment. Affiliate marketing. What is affiliate marketing? That is generating revenue by recommending other people or other companies' products, right? So there is this product. You talk about it. You share your experience with it. You help people understand that it's for them. And then you go, hey, by the way, here's my special link for it. You can get it in my show notes on my website, or you can just go to this link. And then whenever people do and they buy, you get a commission. You get a commission from that company at no extra cost to the customer. I make thousands of dollars with affiliate marketing here on the business side of things. I do the same in the Pokemon space, promoting certain companies' binders, and it's absolutely amazing, and everybody wins, and that's why I love affiliate marketing, and you can do that from day one. You can sell into events. I have an event that I run as well, and we sell tickets, not by just going, hey, buy the tickets, buy the tickets. I talk about people's experiences at that event. I talk about what I hope to achieve with it and bring some people who are going to be at the event onto my videos, onto my podcast, etc. And then finally, there is a tool like Patreon where you can have people, fans, loyal customers pay you monthly to get access to you, right? This is like a paid for by viewers like you situation, which is pretty cool. Hey, JV, you're getting sold an opportunity. You're getting sold an opportunity to actually achieve something that maybe you've wanted to achieve for a while, but you just haven't had the right start. Not because necessarily the right information wasn't there, but because you haven't had the right support system or the right community. For those of you watching the replay, somebody was asking, like, what are you selling me today? I'm not going to lie. I have a pitch at the end, but it's only after giving a lot of value first, which is exactly what you have to do, right? So when you come into the space, you just start asking, what's this? Like, it's not a good first impression. I hope that I've been able to generate a good first impression here so far, and at least ask your permission for an opportunity to see how else I can help you. Cool. Now, here's that podcast episode. This is the most profitable podcast I ever published. Episode 275. So when Power Up Podcasting was coming out, we ran some tests with some students, as you should with whatever it is that you're selling. And I wanted to bring 3 of those test customers on, beta users, on the podcast. And these were those users there. Dr. B, and we have Dr. Shannon Irvin, and Rob and Carrie's podcast, Disney Travel Secrets. Disney Travel Secrets. This podcast episode generated over $150,000. Not because I brought some students on and I said, hey, Dr. B, tell me why Power Up Podcasting was literally the best investment you've ever made. No, that's not the way to do it. Or Dr. B, tell me why you wouldn't have been able to do any of this without my help. That's not the way to sell. The way to sell is to collect the story, like I said. So I asked Dr. B, tell me about a time when you wanted to start a show, your podcast, because I know you wanted to, but it was just hard for you. Right? The tell me about a time story. So she told a story about how she was deathly afraid of all the tech involved with podcasting. But without even having to ask her, she said, Pat, but you made me realize that I didn't have to worry so much. In fact, you just laid it all out for me. I couldn't have done this without you. And then I said, well, what has happened since you've started your show? And she was talking about how she was now being heard, and this was just months after she started, how she was being heard in over 33 different countries. She even told a story about how she created a little map behind her computer. And every time that she was able to help people in other countries with ADHD, not countries that have ADHD, but people in those countries who deal with ADHD in one way or another, she put a pin up on that board and she was on pin number 33 just that day. How do you think that did for selling my course? It was better than any copywriting person that I could ever hire. It was better than any ads I could ever spend on because it was an honest account for the before and the after, right? That's it. So Dr. Shannon Irvin, she told her story about how she took an offline business and took it online. And then Robin Carey told us how they increased their business by 238% as a result of their podcast, which was freaking cool. So I got the older person who was deathly afraid of technology, which I know is a big obstacle for you podcasters. Then we have the person who has an offline business who is now going online. And then we now have the person who was already online who was able to increase their business. So this episode alone has accounted for not just like, hey, these are people who have succeeded through my course. They each talked about it without me having to queue it up, but they each represented a different obstacle that a person had. And that's what I would recommend for you. When you have a guest on your show who is a customer or a student of yours or a member of your community, bring them on and not just talk about like their experience in it, but talk about the transformation that they've had with your product, right? The before, paint a picture. Now the after. People want to go and get those same solutions when they see somebody just like them who has the exact same obstacles overcome and slay those dragons. They want to have the same sword as them, and you are that sword, right? Nice. So I want to ask a question to you. What was the best thing that you learned today? We talked about a lot of things from launching your podcast to how to be better at interviews, what to create content about, some of those myths, of course, so that hopefully inspired you to get started finally, and the ninja trick or monetization. Let me know which of these strategies best resonated with you. I see Benson saying, tell me about a time. I see what you're doing there. Tell me about a time when you're having trouble with engagement on your podcast and what did you do to fix that? Well, we have to define what engagement is for a podcast. Engagement, in many cases, are things like a like or a heart or a comment. But when people are listening to a podcast, they're not often in a situation to quote unquote engage with you. So for a podcast, engagement may look a little bit different. Yes, and I would recommend getting to a point where you could take people from the podcasting platform to a place where they can communicate with you. Email would be the number one thing, but other social media platforms too. You can always mention that at the end of a show to get them to communicate with you on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. So that's important. But to me, it is the most important thing is how many people are listening to now the next episode. So you want to see that upward trend over time of more people listening to more episodes. That's going to be engagement. It's, yes, I like that episode. I'm going to hit play on the next episode that comes out next week, or I'm going to binge listen to these episodes now. That is engagement, in my opinion, for podcasting. It's a little bit different because the way that we're consuming and what we're doing when we're consuming is different. And of course, like I said, getting them from one thing to another is going to be important. So getting better at telling those stories and providing those call to actions that connect, literally telling people what they should be doing, giving them a lead magnet, right? You have an episode about Facebook ads. Cool. Go download my one-page Facebook marketing plan, which goes over everything we talked about in this episode here at this link. Cool. Now they have something in exchange for that, right? Ninja trick, how to start, not following full script, being genuine, nice. I learned how to make my podcast better in every category, says Jada. Nice. The forums and groups, reaching out to admins, such a great idea. Use your podcast to make others look good. Nice, Crystal. I love that. I love that. Now, may I have your permission, chat? Just say yes, if yes, to talk about Power Up Podcasting a little bit more and our upcoming community-based accelerator group that's coming, which means a community-powered course opportunity, which means you get to go through it with other people literally at the same time, giving you the best opportunity to actually find success with this if you need additional help, right? Hopefully this stuff not just inspire you to get started, but gave you some specific strategies, microphone to get, tools to use, and how to get started. But if you want some hand-holding along the way, I would love to show you. Look at that. We got some yeses. Thank you so much, Gonzo and Tina and Crystal, JV, Susan. Amazing. So this course is called Power Up Podcasting. It was created in 2017. It's since been updated 3 separate times fully, along with mini updates in between each. And what this is, it's a course and a community to help you launch and market a podcast that attracts new clients, new customers, and increases your impact. And what's really cool about this is people who are starting their show are literally starting their show because of this, which is amazing. Here are just some success stories from people who once wanted to start a podcast and finally now were able to, which is cool. So here is what we take you through in this course. We go into the pre-launch phase first, where we develop your show concept. We use the same tools and tactics that we talked about, plus some more, and create an evergreen content plan. One of the things that we teach is to create your first 25 episodes, but not the title of them, but just like different ideas and stuff. And before you start recording, making sure you have a bank or a library of stuff that you can pull from so that when you get to episode 7, which is where most people give up, you still have more stuff there. And that way you're not kind of met with that brick wall, which is really key. So we're trying to create like a little prevention plan there for failure. Learn how to be attractive on the microphone using different ways to produce your voice, to create different dynamics, slow down, tell better story, those kinds of things. How to master the art of the ask to getting people on your show, even A-list celebrities, and how to get them on your show. It's not guaranteed, of course, but there are ways and times when it works better than others. Learning how to be an effective interviewer and create CTAs that convert, call to actions that convert, like I said. Practicing and mastering your introductory hook for your episodes, finding your competitive edge, and developing your personalized launch plan. That means picking a date and getting ready for it, right? This is all in the pre-launch phase in the first part of the course. This course is divided into 3 parts. The next part is launch week, where, of course, because you've selected that date, you prepare your podcast for top directories. We tell you how to submit. It's pretty simple once you learn, and how to get support from your community and your network so that when you launch, you build this massive anticipation for your event. And then you go big on launch day. You sit back and celebrate your new show, right? But it doesn't end there, because there are some things that you can do post-launch after you power up your business. You can learn to automate the production process so it doesn't take you hours to edit your show, but just minutes. How to repurpose your show content. And of course, like I said, there is that YouTube/video podcast material in there as well for you. And learn how to keep your show at the top of Apple, monetization opportunities, how to maximize your advertising and sponsorship income, and create a list building machine with your show. And there are some new lessons that are recently added in the third version, the third work through of the filming of this course, the video podcasting. Now, what's really cool is the way this works is you get access to this when you are a part of our community, right? If you are already an SPI community member, shout out to you. Let me know in the chat if you are already a SPI community member. You always have access to Power Up Podcasting, right? And all of our other courses, including the YouTube course and everything else in there, webinars, email marketing, affiliate marketing, it's all in there for you. And you get free access, not free access, but with your monthly or quarterly membership, you get access. But we do something special every once in a while. We have accelerators. And our next accelerator for Power Up Podcasting kicks off Thursday, April 24th. That's this Thursday. Kicks off with a kickoff call with our team. Now, what is an SPI accelerator? It is a structured community course-taking experience with a start and completion date. So unlike if you were to just do this on your own, which is how we've had it for such a long time, and people did succeed with it, we found that people were more likely to succeed with some structure. So a start and a completion date, clear instructions on which lessons to complete each week, expert guidance from our team members to offer support and accountability from start to finish. So yes, my team is going to be there to help you all along the way, and you're going to have access to other people too, and you're 3 times more likely to succeed versus taking the course on your own. We've sold this course individually on its own for such a long time. We found a way to make it even more successful by putting it inside of a structured community experience like this. And again, it starts on Thursday, April 24th. And if you go to smartpassiveincome.com/pup, if you're just starting out, this is perfect. Even if you've just started out and you haven't quite gotten the results you want yet, this is a great way to go back and just make sure everything is the way it's supposed to. If you go to smartpassiveincome.com/pup, you can sign up now for our membership, get access to this accelerator, meet the community members, meet our team, and be a part of this and get access to all the other courses afterwards as well. Here's what some others have had to say. Steve in the middle there also has gone through our stuff and has made $165,000 in sales after his first launch, which was amazing. Steve, I just wanted to shout him out because he did so well. But all of our students are doing amazing because they're getting work done. They're not just like consuming their content. They're actually doing the work, which is incredible. And as Ashley here says, It's the live workshops, the office hours that you get with me every week, they're just invaluable. Like I said, these courses were once available on their own for hundreds of dollars. So if you were to actually add all of that up, all the courses that are inside of our community now, the value would be over $4,000, right? And that's without community and without the accelerators where you go in at a certain time with our team. But if you join the SPI community, you can get access to a dozen courses, the live events and office hours with me, guided pathways through. So once you finish one, we can help guide you into the next. And accelerators, like I said, where you can go through the course at the same time with people. It's just $99 a month, billed quarterly. I mean, this is at the accelerator level. You get access to the accelerators, and it is by far the biggest deal in the world of entrepreneurship education. And yes, we're losing money up front by not charging hundreds of dollars, but it's built like this so that you can see that this only generates revenue for us when we help you, right? It's on us to deliver that value over time. So join now and get up into the Power Up Podcasting Accelerator. It kicks off this Thursday. It is the accelerator plan at $99 per month, billed annually or quarterly. You can pick that. So it's not billed monthly, but that is to, again, get you to the point where we know we can provide some value for you. So that is the presentation today. I know there's some questions that I want to be here to answer and support for real quick here at the end. But if you go to this link here, smartpassiveincome.com/pup, you'll see some members who are already saying some good things here in the chat, which is amazing. But this is where you want to go. If you come in before Thursday, April 24th, you'll get into that accelerator kickoff, get to meet some other people going through the same course with you. And then you're on your way. You're going to get your microphone. You're going to get things started. And before you know it, you're going to be behind that microphone and people are going to be listening to you. Can you join the course without joining the community? Yes, there is the starter plan, which you can get in, and you won't get access to the accelerators or the office hours, but yes, you can get access to all of our courses at the starter plan, Crystal. So that is there at the same link. If you'll go to the community page, you'll see it there for sure. So there it is, smartpassiveincome.com/pup. And if you go to smartpassiveincome.com/community, you can read more about the community there as well. Not yet for me. No worries, Zero New. And it'll be here when you're ready, but the accelerators might not be around at that point. Connected Mom is a member. That's awesome. SPI, yes, says Amy. If it's half as good as your YouTube course, it'll be amazing. Thank you, Connected Mom. Yes, so we have a course called YouTube from Scratch to help you get to 1,000 subs, and it's been working so well for a lot of people in the community as well. And if you sign up for this, you also get access to that as well, by the way. Reshape and Recover asks, what mic would you recommend when we have two people who sit next to each other during the podcast? So there's, in fact, a lesson in the course specifically about this because there's a few ways to go about it. Number one, you can get the same Shure SM7, this is a Shure SM7B. This is the expensive one. Yes, you can use this along with a box like a Rodecaster Pro. You can plug both of them in, and then you're good to go. But if you're using the USBs, there are some little configurations that you need to do. I have a video on YouTube that is public about how to do this, connecting two microphones so that it can read both, and you can have both each the Samson Q2U. The easiest way to do it, especially if it's just like a partner or a spouse, is to just share the microphone. So kind of go like this back and forth. The audio listeners aren't going to care. But if you want to each have a microphone, having a Samson Q2U, which is the cheaper USB that sounds great, plugged into the computer, both of them, and then doing the little hardware configuration or on there, as I talk about in that video, is there. You can look it up on YouTube how to do that. Great question, though. Jada, do you have a link for the course? Yep, right here, smartpassiveincome.com/pub. Thank you so much for asking. Cool. Thank you. You're welcome. This and all your videos have given me the confidence to start my podcast this summer. Nice, Heather. Summer is a perfect time. Now's the perfect time to get ready and gear up for that, which is great. How to make interviews shine. Nice. Any tips on what would be good to keep audiences engaged, especially as a solo podcaster? This is a great question, Swift. So number one, your storytelling capabilities are really what's gonna hold people more than anything, right? There are some tricks and other things like that, right? You could have some background noises, background music. You can have little stingers here and there to kind of pattern interrupt, if you want to call it that. A lot of people enjoy different segments as well. So you might have different segments of one episode. Maybe it's the in the middle of the episode, you go into a tool of the week segment, which can have a little stinger in front of it, like an audio stinger, just to kind of reset people. But quite honestly, the best and number one thing you can do is learn how to tell better stories. If you can do that, you don't need anything fancy. You could have people just absorbed into every word you're saying at a dinner party. And dinner parties and dinner is a great place to practice storytelling, by the way. about like just what happened today. Tell your spouse, tell your kids. Kids are great indicators for how well you're telling stories as well, because that is attention spans that are similar to kind of us adults today on social media. So just keep that in mind. Why does your mic cut out so much when you back away from the grill? It sounds thin for some reason. The reason is because, Nick, podcasting microphones like this, you need to be pretty close to the microphone so you can get that depth. You can get that really almost like you're talking into a person's ear, just like you're hearing right now. But we have something called a noise gate on some devices that we use. This is a Rodecaster Pro that I'm using that this mic is plugged into, and it's a software thing, right? So a noise gate means you can set a certain threshold so that background noise does not come in. So I have some fans here and the air filter and stuff in this office because I'm in here a lot, and there's a lot of dust, right? So it's running, but you can't hear it because of the noise gate. But if I remove myself just a bit, might not hear what I'm saying completely, right? So this is why a lot of podcast mics are pretty close. If I were to move far away like this, it might cut in and out because I'm right at that threshold, right? Very cool. Good question. Yes, but what about a guest who's not in the same room? How would you pipe them in? So I shared some tools earlier. I'll share them again. You can use Zoom for that and just get the audio. Make sure you have the compression off, right? You're as if you're recording music. You can turn that off in Zoom to get the highest quality audio. It's always going to be compressed, so I don't prefer Zoom, but Zoom is a possible way to do that. And there are some tools like Riverside.fm and Squadcast that could allow you to record remotely as well. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Tiffany. No clue how to set it up with Work Shotgun mic. I bought it my computer. Yeah, the course, again, will walk you through exactly how you do that if you're in. Just podcasting 2 times per month instead of 4 times per month makes sense. So when I started, this is a question from Coaching with Dagmar. So when I started, it was only 2 times a month because that's all I could afford in terms of time. I was blogging 3 times a week, and I was just like, I don't have the time to record an episode a week. I'm just going to do every other week. And it was like that for about 6 months. Then I went to an event called Blog World Expo in Vegas, and I started having conversations with people who knew about my brand. And I had fully expected all of them to start talking about all the amazing written pieces of content that I came out with. But you know what they talked about? The podcast. Even though I was only podcasting 2 times a month, they couldn't stop talking about the stories that I was telling or the certain things I was sharing on the show. So that was a light bulb moment for me to then switch it up and actually remove some written blog content in my workload to then put it into recording more audio, right? But I was still able to build something. I will say the more you create, the more that you will get better faster, the more results you'll get faster. That's just the nature of it, right? Quantity is key up front because it gets you more reps. It gets you to find what topics make more sense. It helps you find your voice more. If it took you 50 episodes to find your voice, if you did an episode every other week, right, it would take you a couple years versus getting it in a year or less with weekly. But that's just what I wanted to share. Cool. How do I get sponsorship, says Jada? Well, the number one way to do it is through relationship building with companies, right? It's very hard to point blank just go, hey, company, I'm a new podcaster. Like, please trust me. Will you give me money? That's not going to happen. Versus maybe you start using that product first. Maybe you reach out to them and build a relationship with them. You do some videos or even share that product every once in a while before you ask. And then you say, hey, a lot of my audience really enjoys your product. I use it myself. I would love to feature you on my show, and maybe we could work out a deal. And when you can showcase that where they're spending money will be for their exact target audience, they're going to be more likely to pay attention. Before, you used to have like a minimum of 50,000 downloads per month to even start conversations with people about this kind of stuff, but no longer, because people, I think, are starting to understand, especially really, really nice brands, they're starting to understand the power of a small but core loyal audience. Hussein says, how to find niche. Read my book, Will It Fly? It's going to show you how to test your next business idea so you don't waste your time and money, but it's also all about finding your niche, right? The riches are in the niches. All right, everybody, I have to head out for my next call, but I appreciate you so much for today, your time and attention. This is the link to go to join that accelerator that's coming up. Kickoff is on Thursday. I know some of you have already joined, which is amazing. And even if you don't, hopefully you got some value out of this. But I do want to advise that if you have been thinking about starting a show and you haven't already, why don't you make a small investment in yourself, in our team, And it's up to us to then prove it that we can get you to where you want to go. So join us on this accelerator again right here, smartpassiveincome.com/pup. And again, hopefully we can start this relationship together and get you on your way and be a part of your success story. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a good day, everybody. Peace out.